Okay, hi class. Here's a review of your midterm, the precalc midterm. So, again, we went over this in class past 2 weeks in December. So, hopefully, you guys, taking notes and all that. I actually posted this on Canvas, so, you guys can take a look at it. But each question, I tell you what the problem is going to be dealing with. So let's just kind of start. But before we start, don't forget, please have your calculator. Make sure your calculator has batteries, it's full, it's charged. Um, I don't think they're going to be giving out calculators, so just make sure you have one. Whether it's graphing or scientific, you should really have one or the other. So question one is gonna, I'll give you a right triangle. I'll ask you to find a side. I'll ask you to find an angle. So again, your a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then you'll use your trigonometric inverse function to find the angle. And then, again, just please don't ask me anymore. But your formula sheet is going to be there. Everything's going to be there. So you'll have all your equations. For number 2, I'm going to give you 2 coordinate points, ask you to find the slope. So please know your slope formula. I'm going to ask you to find distance between 2 points, and I'm going to ask you to find the midpoint between 2 points. And again, we did that. You should be very familiar with these equations, okay? Number 5, 6, I will give you an inequality, and then what I expect from you is to know how to draw it. So solve it and draw it, and then give me the domain, okay? So again, if it's like this, greater equal, lesser equal, or equal, your point is going to be shaded. If it's not or equal, then it's going to be an open circle. Remember, anything greater, you'll go to the right. Anything less, you'll go to the left, right, to the other side. So it's just a matter of what you have. Now remember, if you're multiplying or dividing both sides by a negative number, you will have to change the sign, the direction of the sign. So please don't forget that. 7, 8 is very easy. I give you an equation and I ask you to find y if x is something. So you just have to plug it in and find your y. For 9, 10, we have inverse functions. So I'll give you a few I'll give you a few equations. First things first, you have to first solve for y, right? First for the y. So isolate the y. First isolate the y. After you isolate the y, you will flip the x and y, you'll do the inverse, and then you'll solve for y. So it should follow along. You understand? Like it's a, if you guys have issues with inverse, my suggestion is YouTube videos, how to do inverse. It's pretty simple. Okay, so finding area, finding length of an arc, you have the formula 2 pi r times theta over 360. All you have to do is just properly put in your the numbers that you have, okay, and just find either the length or the area of the arc or of the sector, whichever one is given. You have the formulas, it's there. Number 15, find the area. I'll give you something like this. So you'll have to know how to do that. Typically, I think the height is not going to be given, so you're going to have to use a squared, b squared, c squared to find the height. And then you're going to have to use SOHCAHTOA to find an angle, or if you know an angle, you can use SOHCAHTOA to find this, right? So it just depends on what you have. But as long as you understand that an area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height, you'll have to be adding the bases, right? Multiplying by the height and having that. Okay. For 16, we have something similar. Find the missing angle. In order to find missing angle, you'll use the inverse. Okay, so you just have to know your SOHCAHTOA, right? What all that stands for. And again, we did this better part of 2 months. 17, you have to know how to use your law of cosines. So you'll have something like this, law of cosines. So I'm gonna either ask you to find all of the sides or all the angles. I can ask whatever, as long as you know how to work with that. And obviously, if you need to know how to find the angle, then you're gonna be using the inverse function. If you need to know how to just find the side, then you'll radicalize this whole thing. Let's say if you need to find a, you'll just radicalize. So no inverse needed there. As long as you can understand that, you should be fine. Now, converting degree to radians, radians to degree, you should know when to multiply by 180 over pi or pi over 180. Same thing with coterminal angle, supplement. Okay, so remember the formula, supplement is angle equals pi, and you can find the supplement by just plugging this into the angle and then using your skills that you have that you know with fractions and you know all that. For 20, same thing. I'll give you a triangle. Well, you just have to find either an angle or a side or both, and it could be a combination of either law of sine or law of cosine. For 21, I'll give you a function f g x, g f x, and you just have to find f g of x and g of x, g of f of x. So this is one of those like Russian dolls type problems, right? So remember, it's a function within a function, right? So all you have to do if I'm asking for f g of x, all of this into the x of the f of x, into each f of x, x of f of x, okay? So do not forget the square, right? So square means it'll look double like this, and then you're gonna have to do the distributive property typically here. Okay, so it's basically the same thing, just as long as you know how to work this out. On the exam, please try for your handwriting to be like halfway decent normal. Because again, if I can't read it, I'm really not gonna try to read anything. If I can't read it, it's just 0. I'm just gonna X it out. I'm gonna cross it out. So please make sure that it's legible, that I can actually read it. I don't really work out these problems before. Like, I work them out to a way where they make sense, but like I don't actually work them out and sit there and so you're gonna have to really like give me normal decent size handwriting. Okay, so please. For number 22. I'm going to give you something like this, and I'm going to ask you to draw the piecewise function, as long as you understand how to make your XY graphs, right? How to choose which numbers, the window, right? Give me the XY coordinates, when to close the circle, when to open the circle, right? When is it a horizontal line just like this? When is the line going down? Okay, so just you have to really know what you are doing here, right? And then solve for this. All you have to do is take the number, whichever number. What does this number satisfy? Which one of these intervals? And then that's the function that you're going to use. You plug it in, you'll find the answer that way. 23. I'm going to give you a graph. I'm going to ask you, just like I did in previous exam, all host of questions: relative max, absolute, relative min, absolute min. Okay. Range, domain, when f of x is greater than 0, when f of x is less than 0. If I'm asking for interval, please give me the interval. If I'm asking for what's the answer for f of 1, you're gonna have to look at 1, right? It's really intuitive here. All you have to do is know what's being asked, understand what's being asked, right? Y-intercept, just give me a coordinate. Zeros are your x-intercepts, right? Give me a coordinate, okay? Drawing is very simple, right? We learn how to draw like sines and cosines. So sine of, let's say, 2x or a 2 sine x, right? What's the difference? This number, right, states the frequency, how frequent it'll be, right? This is 5, right, the frequency. And this number, in front number, is the amplitude. So if I had, let's say, 2 sine x, I know I would start at 2. You understand? Well, not really start at 2. I'm still, because remember, sine, it crosses 0, right? But it's gonna look something like this. You understand? See? And then that's how, so between 2 and -2, it'll look something like this. Okay, something like this. All right. So as long as you can understand that, where we're coming from, what we're doing, what the numbers suggest. Okay. So, and then also just remember your pi over 2 pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi, and then the same thing with the negative side. So again, building these should be piece of cake. Okay. And we did this a lot. So so if you still have questions or issues, just YouTube some videos and see how they draw them. And again, I'll tell you, I'm really not the best at drawing these. It never comes out too accurately, so don't worry about it being too accurate. It doesn't have to be, as long as you got down the right amplitude if needed, as long as you got down the right frequency if needed, right? You should be good. You should be okay, and as long as these numbers make sense, okay, that's it. That's all I'm looking for. Okay, number 25, something like this. Now remember, I already posted this on Canvas with the answers. I already worked them out for you, okay? I could do this one now too, just so maybe this is the same one on the exam, I don't know. But one of them are going to be the same from that sheet. So definitely look through that sheet, okay? So the question is saying, a sling is being rotated at a rate of 100 RPMs, okay? So A, what will the length of the sling have to be so that the speed of the object at the end will be 40 meters per second? Okay. So in this case, what we're going to do first, right, is we're going to convert, right, revolution per minute, right, into radians, right? And how do we do that? Well, 100 revolutions, right, per minute multiplied by, and remember, what is one circle? It's 2 pi, right? 2 pi radians, right? That's one revolution, okay? And now here we have minutes, but we should, because in science, right, because again, this is physics, so in science we have to keep seconds, right? We don't really talk in minutes, okay? And especially when you are given 40 meters per second, you have to convert minutes to seconds. How do we do that? Well, 1 minute has 60 seconds, you see? All you have to do is learn how to work with your units, okay? So what we're doing is we're converting revolutions to radians per second, right? And that's what's being left, okay? So 100 times 2 pi over 60, right? Let's just put 100 times 2 pi over 60 like this. And then we can, I guess we can, we'll simplify it. So this is 30, so 100 over 30 pi, don't forget the pi. And then the zeros cancel, so 10 pi over 3, something like that. And then, of course, the unit is radian per second, okay? So once we find out that, right, we have to find what is the length of the sling, right? The length of the sling. So if we have, well, first of all, we have the velocity, right? So that's 40 per second, right? So we're going to use the formula velocity equals radius times circular rotational motion, or circular, or really this is circular velocity, right? And we know the circular velocity, so that's 10 pi over 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to manipulate this formula, right, to find for the r, right? So r equals velocity over the circular rotational velocity. So we're going to get what? We're going to get velocity of 40, okay, over 10 pi over 3. So 40 divided by 10 pi over 3, okay, is 40 times, and then we'll do keep change flip, 3 over 10 pi, and this is gonna take us to something like 120 over 10 pi, and then it's gonna, let's see, yeah, 120 over 10 pi, and then 120 over 10 pi is 12 over pi meters. Okay. Okay, and B, so this is A, so we finally found the answer. So B is going to be what? If the sling is 1 meter long, so they're telling you the sling is 1 meter long, what would be the velocity, right? How fast, meaning velocity. So you'll just use the same formula, and all you have to do is just plug in 1, right? So 1 times, and what's the rotational that we found? 10 pi over 3. So 10 pi over 3 is the answer. Or 10 pi over 3, because pi is what? 3.14, it's over 3. Because, the number is small, so something like 10.5, let's say, 10.5 meters per second, something like that, okay? So again, these questions are very simple, right? The first step is almost always either you're converting from revolutions to radians per second, or radians to revolutions, like radians per second to revolutions, okay? And again, in class, we discussed a few other problems like this. Please review the sheet that I gave you, the answer sheet, and that would be that. And here, you have your formula sheet. Everything is there. So again, tomorrow, please come in, relaxed, study. Don't overstudy, but hopefully you guys did take some time and not just cramming it. Hopefully. So, good luck to everyone. If you do have some questions, some actual real math questions, you can always ask. Just email me. Yeah. Other than that, happy studying.